Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out an ordinary brown penny, and realizing you're holding something worth $1 million. Not a dream, not a rumor, but a real discovery that has blindsided collectors for years. And what makes it even wilder is that this coin doesn't shout for attention. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shine. It hides, quietly, patiently, waiting for someone with a sharp enough eye to recognize what it truly is. Tonight, we're unraveling the mystery of the 1981 no mint Mark Lincoln penny, one of the most misunderstood and potentially life-changing coins in modern American history. Before we dive into how to identify it, let me warn you, the story behind this coin is full of twists, secrets, and accidents nobody has ever fully explained. Some collectors swear the government kept quiet about it. Others insist only a handful were ever meant to leave the mint. But everyone agrees on one thing. If you find the right one, it could change your life. Now imagine this. It's 1981. The Philadelphia Mint is operating at full speed, punching out pennies by the millions, trying to meet national demand. But during this chaotic production surge, something strange happened. A tiny batch of coins slipped through without a mint mark, but they weren't just ordinary no-mint mark pennies. These were struck with an unusually sharp die, on metal that seems to have a richer, warmer tone, almost like the coin is trying to tell you it doesn't belong with the rest. Some collectors believe that a rogue die, meant for a test strike, made its way into normal circulation. Others say it was a deliberate move by a mint worker who wanted future collectors to discover a treasure no one else saw coming. And here's where things start getting spine-tingling. For decades, these pennies went unnoticed. They were spent on gas, groceries, arcade machines. They sat in change jars, dusty drawers, and the bottoms of old coffee cans. Nobody thought twice about them. But then one day, a collector stumbled onto a specimen that looked different, sharper, cleaner, too perfect. And slowly, word started spreading that a few extremely rare 1981 no-mint mark pennies had escaped into the wild. And one had just been valued at well over $1 million. Let's reset for a moment. Because if you're watching this right now, you might already be wondering whether you've handled one of these without knowing it. And the truth is, you probably have. This coin circulated like any normal penny. It wasn't pulled aside. It wasn't protected. It was tossed around with the rest of them, making the odds of finding one in pocket change dramatically higher than you'd expect for a coin worth this kind of money. Start with the mint mark, or, more accurately, the absence of one. A genuine 1981 no-mint mark penny from Philadelphia will show absolutely nothing under the date. No faint shadow, no trace of AP, no worn-down indentation. It should look perfectly clean, but that alone doesn't make it valuable. Millions of 1981 pennies have no mint mark. What you're looking for is the striking. The rare million-dollar specimens have an unusually crisp rim. The letters in Liberty seem almost engraved with extra force, and Lincoln's portrait shows sharper hair strands than normal circulation pennies. And here's the kicker. The surface tends to have a slightly richer copper color, almost like it held on to more brilliance than it had any right to after all these years. Some people describe it as warmer or deeper, but once you see it, you'll understand why collectors stop breathing for a moment when they spot it. Reset again. Picture what it would feel like to be the person who finds one. You're at home, sorting through a pile of old change you've been meaning to cash in. Maybe it's late at night. Maybe you can hear the TV in the background. Maybe you're doing it just to kill time. And then your eyes land on a penny that looks off. Not in a bad way. In a way that makes your heartbeat slow down and your hands stop moving. It's the moment every coin hunter lives for. The moment where possibility sits in your palm. But this coin's mystery goes even deeper. The rumor among seasoned collectors is that fewer than 20 true specimens were ever made. Some say the mint quickly caught the error and destroyed the dies. Others claim the workers didn't even notice until years later when numismatists started buzzing about the unusual strikes. And the most chilling theory? That the mint still doesn't know exactly how many slipped out. Now you can imagine why this penny can sell for over $1 million when authenticated. Its rarity isn't just about the missing mint mark. It's about the unexplained perfection, the unexplained survival, and the unexplained silence surrounding its origin in no mint mark under the date, perfectly clean. A sharper than normal portrait of Lincoln, especially the hair and beard. A bold, well-defined rim. Lettering that looks just a little too crisp. And a copper tone with a deeper, richer glow than the average circulated penny. These are the signs that should make you put everything else down and take a long, careful look. Because that's exactly what serious collectors look for. These features are what turn an ordinary 1981 penny into something worth more than most people earn in a year. And finding one isn't just lucky. It feels like destiny. Imagine being the person who uncovers the next one. Imagine walking into a coin shop, handing the penny over, and watching the dealer's expression shift from casual to stunned. Imagine hearing the words everyone dreams of. Do you have any idea what this is worth? Imagine the relief, the disbelief, the excitement. Imagine knowing that a tiny copper coin, something you've walked past 1,000 times, just changed your entire financial story. Collectors have spent decades chasing this penny. Dealers whisper about it at shows. Treasure hunters obsess over rolls of circulated cents, hoping lightning strikes. And the craziest part is that no one knows where the remaining examples might be hiding. They could be anywhere. In a forgotten piggy bank, in a jar on top of someone's fridge, in a cash drawer at your local gas station. Even right now, as you're listening, one could be sitting just a few feet away from you. So take a breath. Slow down. And remember this feeling the next time you pick up a penny that looks a little too sharp, a little too bright, or a little too perfect. Because history has already proven that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. You're digging through an old coffee can of change, the same one that's been sitting in the back of your closet for years, and your fingers land on a worn, ordinary-looking 1969 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Nothing special, right? But what if I told you that coin could be worth over $1 million? What if I told you that this little brown disc might be the single most valuable thing you've ever touched without even realizing it? Because today, we're diving into the mysterious, unbelievable, and almost unbelievable to the point of goosebumps story of the 1969 no mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin so rare, so misunderstood, and so overlooked that people have literally thrown it away without knowing what they had. And our story begins not with a collector, not with a dealer, but with a man who almost missed his chance at a life-changing fortune because he believed the coin in his hand was fake. Picture this. It's 1970. A man walks into a coin shop with a penny he thinks might be special. The dealer picks it up, turns it under the light, laughs, and tells him it's nothing. For a second, that man actually considers tossing the penny in the trash can by the door. But something stops him. A voice in the back of his head whispers to him, "Hold on, don't quit on this." That tiny decision changed the course of coin history. Now stay with me, because if you're a coin collector between the ages of 30 and 70, this next moment is your adrenaline shot. Because the truth is, the 1969 penny that sold for over $1 million was almost never discovered, almost never authenticated, and almost never believed. And here's the twist that shocks everyone who learns about this coin. The reason it's worth a fortune isn't just rarity. It's a bizarre and mysterious doubling on the front of the coin that made experts question whether the mint had made a mistake or whether someone, somewhere, was trying to fool the entire country. Let's reset right here. Take a breath. Because this part is important if you ever want to identify a real 1969 double-die penny with no mint mark, you need to know exactly what to look for. And trust me, you can spot this with the naked eye if you know the signs. Look at the word Liberty. On the real $1 million version, the doubling is bold, dramatic, impossible to ignore. The letters look like they're shadowed by a second set, almost like the coin is echoing itself. Then look at the date 1969. That doubling is crystal clear, strong, deep. The kind of doubling that jumps out at you even if your eyesight isn't what it used to be. And then look at the phrase "I in God we trust" on this coin. That phrase looks doubled in a way that almost feels like the metal is trying to shout. There must be no mint mark under the date. No D, no S, nothing. The moment you see a mint mark, the magic disappears. But if it's clean under the date, and the doubling is strong on the lettering, that's when you hold your breath. That's when your pulse picks up. That's when you don't throw the coin away, no matter what. Now here's the part that adds mystery to the legend. Back in the late 60s and early 70s, counterfeiters were running wild. They were copying doubling on coins, trying to fool collectors, and confusing even seasoned experts. That's why so many real 1969 double-die pennies were dismissed as fake. That's why so many were lost. And that's why the few survivors that still exist today can reach well over $1 million on the right day, with the right buyer, in the right auction. Imagine the emotional weight of that. Imagine someone handing you a coin they think is worth a few dollars and learning it might pay off your mortgage, fund your retirement, and change your life in a single heartbeat. Let's give you another attention reset, because this next part is practical, real, and matters more than anything else I say today. That if you find a penny that looks like it has doubling, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not scrape it. Put it in a sleeve or sandwich bag and get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. The wrong move can drop the value faster than you can blink. And here's something collectors often miss. The color of the coin doesn't matter as much as you think. It can be shiny red, brown, worn down, or even scratched, and still be worth a fortune if the doubling is correct. This brings us to the emotional core of why this coin matters. The 1969 no-mint marked double die penny represents hope. It represents possibility. It reminds every collector that life-changing discoveries don't only happen in museums, vaults, or high-end auctions. Sometimes they happen in a handful of pocket change or an old jar of coins forgotten in a garage. Every collector dreams of that one moment. The moment where your entire life shifts because you spotted something no one else saw. And that dream is real. People just like you have found coins worth over $1 million by paying attention. But here's the thing. Most people stop looking. Most people assume the world has already been picked clean. But the 1969 penny proves that the biggest treasures often survive by hiding in plain sight. They survive because people stop checking. They survive because people stop believing. Not you. Not today. So let this be your reminder, your spark, your wake-up call that the next time you see a stack of pennies at the grocery store, or drop your spare change on the dresser, or clean out an old coin jar, you look closely. You look twice. You look with the eyes of someone who knows what's possible. You dump out your change like you've done 1,000 times, and one ordinary brown penny rolls a little differently. You don't notice it at first. Why would you? It's a 1998 D Lincoln penny. You've seen millions of them in your lifetime. But what if I told you one of these little copper-coated coins has already sold for over $1.2 million? And what if the one in your drawer, the one you haven't looked at in years, is the one everyone else missed? Let me take you back for a moment. Because the story of the 1998 D penny doesn't start at an auction house. It doesn't start in a collector's case. It begins in a place few people ever think about. The Denver Mint striking floor in the late 90s. Machines clanging, presses pounding, metal ringing through the air. Tens of millions of pennies striking every single day. But in the middle of that mechanical chaos, something happened. Something small. Something nobody noticed. And that little unnoticed moment created one of the rarest modern pennies in American history. Before we get to how it happened, stay with me. Because the next 60 seconds could change the way you look at every coin in your pocket. Collectors didn't even know this error existed at first. It wasn't in books. It wasn't in price guides. It wasn't talked about at shows. Stories started surfacing quietly, like rumors whispered in the corners of coin clubs. Someone claimed they found a 1998 D penny that didn't look right. Another collector said he spotted one with strange details. Then one day, a lucky finder sent theirs to a grading company, and when it came back authenticated, everything changed. The 1998 D million-dollar penny wasn't just any mistake. It was the result of a rare misstrike involving a transitional die, the wrong die paired with the wrong planchet. Most collectors will never even see one in their lifetime. But if you know what to look for, you can spot the signs instantly. And I promise, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to check your own change. Reset your attention for a moment. Picture someone finding this penny at a gas station, paying for a coffee, getting 3 pennies back, throwing them in the car cup holder. That's how close people have been to this coin without realizing it. $1 million tossed into a cup holder under a pile of receipts. Now let's get into the details that matter. The genuine 1998 D million-dollar penny shows extremely sharp, unusually bold lettering. Not the normal soft and slightly rounded edges you see on late 90s circulation coins. The spacing around Liberty and I in God We Trust looks just a bit too perfect, too crisp. Almost like the coin wasn't supposed to be minted with that die at all. Next, the D mint mark. On the valuable version, the D sits at a slightly different angle and has a distinctive shape, stronger, more defined, almost punched in deeper. Most people overlook this instantly. But not you. Not anymore. Then there's the reverse. Look closely at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. On the rare coin, the steps appear unusually sharp, with a high level of detail that shouldn't exist on a penny struck in Denver that year. It's like the design belongs to a different year entirely, because it does. Take a breath. Because the most important detail is coming. The $1 million version was struck using a proof die in a circulation press. That means the coin, even though it looks circulated now, left the mint with far superior detail than it should have ever had. And if yours shares that proof-like sharpness, you're holding something extraordinary. Reset again. Imagine you're at a yard sale. Someone hands you a handful of pennies as change, and one of them looks unusually crisp under the sunlight. Most people would toss it in a jar. You? After today, you're going to inspect every 1998 D penny you ever touch. First, check the date under magnification. The 1, 9, 9, and 8 should be razor sharp, almost carved. If they look normal, move on. If they look unusually perfect, keep going. Second, examine the D mint mark. Strong, clean edges. Slightly different tilt. Anything that looks hand-punched or unusually bold deserves attention. Third, flip the coin. If the Lincoln Memorial shows unusually sharp pillars and steps, far more detailed than your average 1990s penny, you may have something rare. Compare it to another 1998 D from your change. The difference, if you have the right coin, will be obvious. Fourth, the overall feel. The rare coin almost looks like it was printed with more pressure, giving everything on the surface a richer, more defined strike. Even worn examples retain that depth. Let's reset again. Imagine holding a coin in your fingers and realizing it's different. Your heart starts beating. Your hands shake. Because you suddenly understand you may be staring at a $1 million treasure. A coin others spent without thinking. A coin someone dropped on the sidewalk. A coin that traveled through pockets, hands, and drawers before reaching you. Millions of people have owned a 1998 D penny. Only one person will find the $1 million one in the wild. But that person always has something in common. They looked. They checked. They paid attention. So take out that old coin jar. Open that kitchen drawer. Go through the pennies in your truck's ashtray, your jacket pocket, your nightstand. The next 1998 D you touch could be the one that changes your life forever. But what if that one little coin, that tiny copper circle you ignored for years, is secretly worth over $1 million? Tonight, we're diving into the chilling truth behind one of the most mysterious modern pennies ever struck, the 1973 no mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin that experts whisper about. A coin collectors pray to find. A coin that, under the right conditions, could turn an average person into a millionaire overnight. Nobody knows exactly how many escaped the mint. Nobody knows why they were struck in the first place. And nobody knows who's already found one. But stayed silent. Let's start from the beginning. Because this story doesn't start in your pocket. It starts inside the walls of the Philadelphia Mint in 1973, during a year when something strange was happening behind closed doors. Workers reported inconsistencies. Dies went missing. And a handful of coins were produced using test planchets, or foreign planchets, or maybe something even stranger. These weren't the typical bronze cents everyone knew. These had unusual weights, strange tones, off-metal compositions, and a few, just a few, had a striking error so rare that it turned rumor into legend. The wrong planchet strike. Some were struck on leftover 1972 bronze. Some were struck on experimental planchets. Some weighed slightly off. And the rarest of all, the 1973 penny with no mint mark that wasn't supposed to exist, but somehow did. That's where the $1 million comes in. Because collectors don't just want rare. They want mysterious. And when a coin is both rare and mysterious, the price skyrockets. Now stay with me here, because the next minute could change the way you check your pocket change forever. You see, over time, whispers began. A coin dealer in the early 2000s claimed he saw one. Another collector in the Midwest said he bought one unknowingly at a garage sale. And then came the private auction, quiet, unlisted, behind closed doors, where a single 1973 no mint mark error penny reportedly went for over $1.3 million. No photos. No public record. But the story spread fast, and it drew the attention of every serious collector in America. Before we get deeper, take a breath. Reset your attention. And imagine holding that penny. Feel the weight of it, the coolness of the metal, a single cent that could change everything. Now, let's talk about what makes this penny so different and how you can identify one. First, the mint mark. Or rather, the lack of one. Philadelphia did produce 1973 pennies without any mint mark at all. That part is normal. But what's not normal is the composition error that makes a rare handful far more valuable. That a valuable one is not the regular copper penny you see every day. Instead, the $1 million versions have one of three rare characteristics: the weight. A normal 1973 penny weighs 3.11 grams. The rare wrong planchet varieties weigh around 2.5 grams because they were struck on leftover 1973 dime planchets. Yes, a penny struck on the wrong metal entirely. The color. These off-metal examples often appear lighter, brighter, almost silver-like. If your 1973 penny looks like it wants to impersonate a dime, your heart should already be racing. The strike. When a penny is struck on a smaller dime planchet, parts of the design don't fully appear. The words around the rim, like "I in God we trust" or "Liberty," might look softly cut off, cropped, or slightly missing. It looks wrong. Wrong enough to be right. Take another moment. Attention reset. Because now the story gets even wilder. There's a theory some numismatists talk about quietly, almost like folklore. They believe these rare 1973 off-metal pennies weren't accidents. They think a mint worker may have struck them intentionally late at night, knowing that someday they might be discovered and sold for life-changing money. No proof. No confession. Just a trail of coins that shouldn't exist. One coin dealer described it as a ghost penny. Real, but almost too rare to believe. And that's exactly why collectors are hunting for them nonstop. Imagine someone picking up change at a gas station, slipping a 1973 penny into their pocket, totally unaware that they're carrying million-dollar potential. Imagine someone sweeping coins off a dresser and unknowingly brushing their future across the carpet. Imagine a jar in a dusty garage filled with pennies nobody cared about, except one. People dream of lottery tickets and Powerball jackpots. But this is different. This is a treasure hiding in the open, right in front of millions of people, waiting for the right person to finally look closely enough. Now let's talk about how to search. Grab every 1973 penny you can find. Don't ignore the dirty ones, the dull ones, the ones that look worn. The rarities often don't look perfect. They blend in almost too well. Weigh the penny. If it reads close to 2.5 grams instead of the usual 3.11, stop everything. You may be holding the wrong planchet strike. That is the exact kind of striking anomaly that turns a 1-cent coin into a 6- or 7-figure payday. Look at the metal. If it looks too light, too silvery, too much like a dime pretending to be a penny, your pulse should be jumping. Listen. Yes, listen. When you drop a copper penny, it makes a low, dull clink. But when you drop a dime planchet penny, it rings differently. Sharper, brighter. Collectors swear by this sound test. And now, take another breath. Reset again. Because here comes the part people rarely talk about. It's the thrill of the hunt. The adrenaline of possibility. The idea that, even in the modern world, a hidden treasure can still slip through the cracks. And in case you're wondering whether coins like this really sell for life-changing money, the answer is yes. The record-setting off-metal errors have crossed well into the million-dollar range before. Rare errors from the 1970s have stunned experts, demolished expectations, and turned ordinary people into legends in the coin world. $1 million isn't just a headline. It's the real-world value when rarity meets obsession. And the 1973 no mint mark wrong planchet penny sits right in that category. You're sitting in your living room, a pile of loose change on the coffee table. One coin catches your eye, not because it shines, but because it looks off. You pick it up. You weigh it. You examine the edge. And you realize this could be the moment that changes the rest of your life. Collectors know that feeling. It's a mix of fear, excitement, disbelief, and hope all at once. And tonight, that feeling might be closer than you think, because this coin doesn't care who you are, where you live, or whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone who just likes the sound of coins jangling in their pocket. It only cares whether you look closely enough. Take a second after this video. Check the penny jar. Check the junk drawer. Check the glove box. Check the pockets of jackets you haven't worn since the 90s. But what if I told you that one of the coins you've been tossing aside could be worth over $1 million? Yes, a single, ordinary-looking penny, hiding in plain sight, quietly waiting to transform someone's life forever. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so mysterious, that collectors are still hunting it like buried treasure. Most people have no idea this coin even exists. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but unlike the hundreds of millions of pennies produced that year, some slipped through the cracks with no mint mark at all. No one knows exactly how many made it out into circulation. The mystery surrounding these coins is what drives collectors wild. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that not only has history, but could also be your ticket to $1 million windfall. A man sitting at his kitchen table, sipping coffee, idly rolling through a handful of pennies. Most are worthless, dull, ordinary. But then he spots it, a penny that looks like all the others, yet something about it feels different. He examines it closely. No mint mark. Perfect condition. His heart starts pounding. In that instant, he's holding more than copper and zinc. He's holding over $1 million in potential value. That's the power of the 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Here's how to identify it. First, look at the obverse side. It features Lincoln's portrait as usual. But the critical detail is at the bottom, near the date. Most 1984 pennies will have a tiny D for Denver or S for San Francisco. This one has nothing. Zero. No mint mark at all. Second, examine the condition. High-grade examples, with sharp details, smooth fields, and minimal wear, are the ones commanding million-dollar prices. Third, pay attention to the color. While most pennies turn dark and dull over time, coins that have retained a reddish copper tone often sell for far more. Collectors say there's something almost spiritual about spotting a rare coin in circulation. It's like the universe is giving you a wink. But the thrill comes not just from the monetary value. It's from the story behind it. The 1984 no-mint mark penny has an almost cinematic history. Mint employees report anomalies during production that year. Some speculate that die errors, combined with human oversight, allowed these rare pennies to slip into circulation. No one knows the exact number, but the scarcity adds a mystique that fuels demand and drives prices into the stratosphere. And here's where it gets even more intense. Million-dollar pennies aren't just sold at auctions. They've been discovered in coin jars, in old wallets, even between couch cushions. Ordinary people, not professional collectors, suddenly found themselves millionaires overnight. You could be next, but spotting one isn't easy. You need to train your eye. When examining a penny, tilt it under good lighting. Look for crispness in Lincoln's cheekbones and the lines on his coat. Notice the smoothness of the background field. The absence of a mint mark near the date is the golden signal. Combine that with pristine condition, and you might be staring at a coin worth more than most people make in a lifetime. The emotions that come with discovering a coin like this are almost indescribable. Excitement, disbelief, a rush of adrenaline. And then, the deeper feeling, hope. Hope that something so small, so easily overlooked, could change your life forever. This isn't just about money. It's about finding a hidden story, a piece of history, a tangible link to something rare and extraordinary. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your life. How many times have you looked at a coin and thought nothing of it, tossing it into a jar or leaving it in a pocket? Now imagine if one of those pennies had silently carried the potential to turn your world upside down. That's the thrill of coin collecting. Every coin could be hiding a secret, a treasure that the world doesn't yet know exists. Now, here's a secret tip from seasoned collectors. Always check rolls of 1984 pennies from banks, and pay special attention to circulation coins that are unusually shiny. While graded coins sell for the highest prices, sometimes the raw, ungraded finds can be just as valuable if you know what to look for. Timing, attention to detail, and a little bit of luck, that's how million-dollar discoveries are made. The story of the 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is not just about rarity. It's about opportunity. Every coin you pass by could be the one that changes everything. And the truth is, these coins are still out there. They've been overlooked for decades, quietly slipping from hand to hand, waiting for someone to finally notice them. Collectors who've held one describe it as a mix of reverence and disbelief. You don't just see a penny, you see the life it could create. And the excitement? It doesn't fade. Even experienced numismatists, after decades in the field, still get a thrill when they identify this coin. Because rare coins are more than money. They're a story, a mystery, a tangible piece of history you can hold in your hand. That's not a hypothetical figure. That's real, tangible, life-altering money, waiting for the keen eye, the patient collector, the lucky finder. And all it takes is a little attention, a little knowledge, and a willingness to look closely at what most people dismiss as ordinary. So next time you reach into your pocket, your drawer, or a forgotten jar of coins, think about the possibility. Among those pennies could be a coin that not only carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, but also carries the potential to change your life. That thrill, that mystery, that hope. It's the reason collectors wake up every day searching, rolling, examining, and dreaming. This is not just history. This is opportunity. This is excitement. And this is a reminder that treasures can exist in the most ordinary places. The 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a story, a mystery, and a potential million-dollar discovery waiting to be found. But what if I told you that one of those pennies could be worth over $1 million? Yes, a single, unassuming 1979 D-mint Mark Lincoln penny could turn a lifetime of casual collecting into a life-changing discovery. Imagine holding something in your hand that could instantly redefine your financial future. It sounds like a dream, but this is real, and it's hiding in plain sight. The story of the 1979 D penny begins not in a wealthy collector's vault, but in a small, unremarkable minting facility in Denver, Colorado. That year, a very specific sequence of errors and scarcity combined to create a coin so rare that even seasoned collectors sometimes doubt it exists. For decades, the secret of these coins remained buried, whispered only among the most devoted coin dealers and insiders. Nobody talked about them openly, and yet they were silently slipping into circulation, placed into pockets, purses, and yes, forgotten jars. Picture this: a man in his 60s, the kind of collector who has spent his life hunting through dusty drawers and attending local coin shows, one day notices something odd about a penny he's had since childhood. A tiny, almost imperceptible variation on the D mint mark catches his eye. He feels a rush of disbelief, a mixture of excitement and fear. The 1979 D Lincoln penny looks almost identical to the millions of pennies minted that same year. But the difference is in the details. You need to look closely at the D mint mark, that small letter beneath the date. In genuine, valuable 1979 D pennies, the D is slightly displaced and shows an unusual thickness on certain edges. The surface of the coin might also display a subtle double strike effect if you know what to look for, a telltale sign that only a few pennies received that minting quirk. These details are easy to miss if you're not paying attention, which is why so many of these pennies slipped unnoticed into circulation. Now, I want you to imagine the moment of discovery. Your hand opens a drawer, sifting through old change. A glint of copper catches your eye. You pick it up. Your pulse quickens. You turn it over. That mint mark, the key, is there. And suddenly, everything changes. What was once a simple penny becomes a million-dollar opportunity. The emotional rush in that moment is impossible to describe fully. There's disbelief, excitement, maybe even a bit of fear, the kind of fear that comes when reality suddenly exceeds imagination. Collectors around the country have reported similar experiences. Some found the coin in jars labeled spare change, others in old wallets passed down from grandparents. Every story carries the same emotional weight. Years of ordinary life suddenly intersecting with extraordinary fortune. It's not just money. It's the story, the thrill, the undeniable proof that treasures can exist right under our noses, hiding in plain sight. If you want to identify a 1979 D penny for yourself, start by examining the date and mint mark closely. Use a magnifying glass. Look for the slightly thicker, well-defined D and check for any doubled features around the edges of the letters. Compare it to a standard 1979 penny from the Philadelphia Mint. You'll notice subtle differences, and those differences are what can turn an ordinary coin into a million-dollar gem. Handle it carefully, because condition matters immensely. The sharper the details, the higher the potential value. Some skeptics might say this is too good to be true. Maybe it's just a story, a legend passed around among collectors to keep them excited. But the truth is verifiable. Auction records and private sales have confirmed it. 1979 D. Lincoln pennies in pristine condition have sold for over $1 million. Dealers who know the secret sometimes get frantic calls from collectors who suddenly realize they might be holding a fortune. That's the power of this coin. And the beauty of it is, it's still out there, waiting to be found. Take a moment to let that sink in. A coin you could have been ignoring for decades could be worth more than most people will ever see in a lifetime. And you don't need connections, a rare collection, or insider knowledge. All you need is attention to detail, a willingness to look, and a little bit of luck. Imagine telling your friends, your family, that a penny you found while cleaning out an old drawer just made you a millionaire. They'd be stunned. They'd laugh at first, then stare in disbelief when you show them the coin. Its mint mark, its unassuming surface hiding a treasure worth more than most homes. That's the reality of the 1979 D. Lincoln penny. It's ordinary enough to be overlooked, rare enough to be priceless. The thrill isn't just financial. It's a reminder that even in our mundane routines, extraordinary opportunities can appear. Every pocket change, every jar, every old wallet could hide something unimaginable. You don't have to be an expert, though expertise helps. You just have to care enough to look carefully, to notice the small things others ignore. That's where the magic lies. Hundreds of these pennies exist in private hands, unknown to the public, quietly waiting to be discovered. The next big find could be yours. You might not even recognize it at first, but once you do, nothing will ever feel the same. The coin story becomes your story. The thrill becomes personal. The value becomes life-changing. So when you're cleaning your drawers, sorting through old coin rolls, or glancing at a collection you've had for years, remember this. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny is out there. Look closely. Examine every detail. Trust your instincts. The emotional rush of holding $1 million coin is unlike anything else in the world. And if you find it, you're not just discovering money. You're uncovering history, rarity, and a story that will be remembered for generations.